Behind this door is a pretty big catch to today's video. Every year I make this video, and every year I think, why am I showing this part of my life to the world? Organization. How much should we spend on it in both currencies, time and money? We're going to talk about it a little bit, and we're going to solve some more problems. Here we are. Whatever you imagined, it's worse. I'm going to say at least $200 because that's what I spent on this. We're going to be building a welding cart out of this today. It's going to be in this video. Well, the first step is to figure out how we even got here in the first place. I'm going to attribute laziness to part of it. The other part of it is the distance between buildings which I store things. This building becomes the temporary storage for quite a few items that are not supposed to be stored here long term. So step one, get everything out of here that isn't supposed to be in here in the first place and move it down to what we lovingly call our world headquarters. She's a beaut, right? 1970s-ish, old gymnasium for a school that used to be over there. It's not there anymore. We've done quite a bit of work to this. You guys have seen it. This is our storage building, and we store stuff that can be used for future projects, like a lawn roller. We thought that would be kind of fun. The classic mower here, we're gonna try to rebuild. It's gonna be a good time. Or projects in hold until we have more time, like the Fubaru, where we welded the front half of a Ford Ranger to a Subaru. Four-wheel steer. Diesel hydraulic pumps for wood splitter project we're gonna do. And that is a spare 460 motor, since we have a 460 in our Super Duty. I'll show you upstairs, but everything has a section. Now here's the thing, stuff doesn't go here to die. If it's something I think I can sell, like we've got a lot of drip edge that we ordered and we never used, but it's outside of the return window, we take pictures, we post it for sale. If it's a metal like this and it doesn't sell within a year, we just scrap it. This isn't a thing to hoard junk we're never gonna use. It's for future content or building materials that we have a future for. We call it an old gymnasium because that's what it is. It was the old school gymnasium. Pretty cool. It's actually pretty cool. We put a bunch of temporary supports in. We lifted this whole roof up like 3 feet. Eventually we'll strip everything and we'll remake all these laminated and put an office in on one end and then leave the rest open. That's the goal, get it all back open the way it's supposed to be. And even though it seems like there's a bunch of junk in here, there's less every week. Believe it or not, we sell like 2 or 3 things out of here every week. It's not a lot of cash, but basically people paying to take my trash for me. So this table is a prime example of that. This used to be a big reel. It sat in the center. I kind of used it as a fabrication table because there's not a top to it, so I could put stuff on there, clamp it, and kind of tack it in place and do that sort of thing. And I like the practicality of it, but I didn't have the space, so I cut it down, I shoved it over here against the wall and thought, well, this will be perfect if I ever need it. It's just in the way and I haven't used it, and all it's done is become a flat space to store junk on. So we're gonna get this thing out of here and be done with this concept and see if we can't come up with something better. Definitely open to your suggestions on a lot of this stuff too. A lot of guys are super creative, and there are some fantastic organizational videos out there that every time I watch them, there's all the basic stuff, but there's always one thing that you're like, now that is a clever move, bud. I like what you got going on there. So if you got some suggestions or things that have worked for you in a small space like this, man, leave them in the comments. I wanna read them, I wanna know what you're doing, and see if I can't do something similar in this area. This folding table is probably one of the best things I ever got. She's clunky to store, but my goodness, do I use the heck out of this thing. Decision we have to make is what to do with this tractor. This is a Parts 755. We bought it for like 400 bucks. Pulled parts off of this to work on this unit. She's older, she's a little faded, she's out in the weather, but she runs, she does good. We got some loader cylinder seals we gotta fix, and a 4-wheel drive issue. And I gotta figure out if I wanna keep this or sell it. Give me your opinion, let me know what you're thinking, but this is what I'm thinking. I think I'm gonna take the stuff off I'll never use. Mine's a 4-wheel drive, that's a 2-wheel drive axle. We could take that off and sell it. The fenders we could sell, I'm not gonna need those. Roller protection we could sell, I don't need that. Get a little more money out of this thing so we can buy some parts for that one out there. And then the rest of it we'll save. We can use a lot of the components out of the rear end, engine frame, Even small stuff like a fuel solenoid that's 30 bucks, that fuel solenoid shutoff works. Injector lines, there's a bunch of stuff on here, it's still worth stuff that'll work on that tractor. Strip it from what we don't need, and then store it in the world headquarters. This is my wife's four-wheeler from high school. It's why we still have it. And I keep promising her I'm gonna do a full rebuild on it. It runs, the engine's great, brakes are good, but the frame's got a couple issues. It needs to be stripped down, painted, repaired, and it's got some wiring issues. I've been promising that for 10 years. So, in the first half of this, just so you know the flow, the first half of this, we're kind of getting stuff put away where it belongs. That way I know what needs a home that doesn't have a home. In the second half, we're going to build all of our organizational stuff, some brackets, some shelving, the welding thing. That's the flow we're going with. Here's where we're at now. This is the next kind of big thing I want to get knocked out. But before we do, let's tackle another upgrade. If you're wondering how we do power in here, let me show you. That's the system we're going to upgrade, and I need to test it real quick. So we are as off-grid can be with this shop. We got solar panels up on the roof. Little solar panels come in and charge our batteries. Solar comes down through this conduit. We've got our disconnect here. Runs down into there. And under here, we've got a Bluetti AC300 paired with a B300. This is what we're going to upgrade. We're swapping it out with their new Apex 300. The two biggest attractions for me upgrading to the Apex from the AC300. The AC300 is awesome, does everything it's supposed to do. It's a charge controller, it's an inverter, it is the brains of the operation, and the B300 is a 3,000 watt battery. There's no battery capacity in the top section. This, everything the AC300 was, plus 2,700 watts of storage, or watt hours of storage. So it has battery capacity. So in the same footprint, I will now have almost double the amount of battery capacity. That's a huge attraction to me. The other thing, we've been wanting to try to run 240. To run 240 out of that system, I've got to have two setups just like that. Two B300s and two AC300s, and you bridge the 240. But with the new Apex, I can run 240 with this setup. So that's a massive upgrade. More battery capacity and the ability to run 240. Now, it's still only almost 6,000 watts of power. That's not a crazy amount. And I know you're thinking, you're not gonna run a lot of 240 long. You're right, we're not. There's a point to it, and we'll talk about that. But I wanna try to get this swapped over. We're gonna hook it up, and I wanna test it to see if what I want it to do, it's actually gonna be able to do. This is also one of my huge attractions to this Bluetti system. We could do, you know, full-on dedicated system over here with batteries built in and charge controllers and inverters, everything built in. Yeah, we could do that. But the nice thing is, oh, you know what? We have to turn this off. We're gonna lose our lights for a second. Hold on. Let's see what this little flashlight does for us. If it'll give us illumination for filming. So you're running off a flashlight right now because obviously I had to turn this off so we can swap these over. This is one of the cool things I love about this system though. The simple fact that it's super portable. So we could have built a whole built-in system, right? We could have built batteries and inverters and charge controllers and done it up like a permanent locked-in permanent solution. But instead we went with these Bluettis. It's portable. Last year we had a power outage. I came over here, I grabbed the battery, I grabbed that, I threw it in the truck, I took it to the house, and we ran some heaters off of it, phone chargers, and all that good stuff. That's the cool thing. It's portable. That's what I wanted. I didn't want a system married to the building, because how dumb would it be to be over at the house with no power, but they'd have power over here at the shop. This thing, listen, and we can add a whole nother battery to this system. We can add another B300 to it and have almost 9,000 watts of storage. Or watt hours, I don't know, however you want to phrase it, okay? Okay, we're on there. Turn my AC power on and we should get lights. Hey, all right, cool, very cool. I just have this hooked up to a plug. That plug runs up through my conduit and runs into my panel here. And it's just wired like you would wire anything. I mean, it's been working really well. 52%, 1.3 days. At the power I'm pulling in here right now, we've got AC output, DC output. It's everything. Everything you could possibly need. Anyway, we're gonna test out that 240. The concept's simple. Instead of having to fire up the big welder, propane powered Miller over here, we've got this Legend, Miller Legend, propane powered propane tank sitting outside. Ta-da. And we run our wire welder off of this, and then obviously stick welder. The goal is to be able to have a welder that if I just need to weld a nut on a bolt because I got one bolt stuck, or I just need to tack something together real quick before we start up with the serious fabrication work of the larger welder, we'll be able to do that without having to fire up the big welder. That's the concept anyway. First step on this, we're replacing the wheels with these pneumatics. Gravel, don't you know? Looks like those holes line up perfectly with the old ones, so we should just be able to reuse the same hardware. Whee! Oh yes. Come here. Oh, yes. Yeah. It is experiment time. The only downfall is I do have to turn this off, and I gotta swap plugs here. Now, if this works, then we'll wire everything up off this 240 into the panel, and then wire us up a 240 plug. But this is just it's just an experiment. See if it's gonna work first. Oh, and she's on. Look at that. Oh. Fellas, you gotta turn the gas. We're building a thing for the gas, and I forgot to turn the gas on. I consider my mind blown at this point in time so far. This is pretty freaking crazy. Get out of the way. Wild. Wild. I mean, it'll weld. Doesn't mean I can weld any better, but by golly, it'll weld. Wow. That's crazy. So it just did like 3 stitches down each side, and then opposite on the inside there. Okay. So we were sitting at 52% a second ago. Hit a button, there we go, 47%. I'm having a hard time the fact that that thing just ran that welder. I mean, I know it's not all day welding, but by golly, I just put that on there. Here's the idea. Tank holder, all right? Now I just need a way to secure it. And I'm pretty sure a fella's just gonna get real not fancy and just put a ratchet strap on it. The welder just sits up in this top tray. Just sits like that. Nothing fancy, easy access. That's it, the welder just sits up here. I like it up high versus down at the bottom, so I'm right here with my controls. I can see I'm looking at, easy to change wire. Spicer Designs, I think that's what the channel's called, I can't remember. Anyway, he made one similar to this, except he made a welding table on top and put his welders on the side and tanks. Super slick setup, but we're trying to accomplish 2 different things. He wanted a welding table. I just want a place to store all my stuff and be able to keep it all together and roll it outside and work outside. So this is what I'm doing, and it's gonna work for me. The only thing that's not gonna work, I'm probably gonna have to find some foam fill to fill these tires or get some foam filled tires, one of the 2. Never have I been this organized or has it been this convenient to get set up for welding. That is amazing. That is not amazing. The whole thing is just, it's supposed to be storage for all these miscellaneous brackets and small metal pieces that I might use and weld on. And there's just been a terrible system that hasn't worked. And it, you can tell, just spills over eventually. I have a plan, I've got an idea, and it's fairly affordable. All this stuff is nice to have. Pre-made brackets like this, you never know. And I don't really want to get rid of this stuff. It's just, I use it. I use it enough, or I've dug through this pile enough, or pulled stuff out of here enough that it's worth having it. But the organization system is a disaster and needs drastic improvement. So here is my solution to that. It's milk crates. So I think we're gonna put the ultrasonic cleaner back here. It's gonna live back here, it'll be close to the plug-in. And I've seen some people online that have made ways to filter it so you can reuse it. But this way we're gonna be close to the plug-in and not in the middle of the workbench. Milk crates are the system, and I think it's gonna work pretty good. So it's somewhat organized. These are just miscellaneous brackets. This is all small pieces of flat steel. Hold on, let's plug in our bonus light. You ready for this? Wow, I know, pretty wild. Miscellaneous flat steel, small tubing, any kind of tubing scraps we might have, small stuff. This is more just miscellaneous bracketry. It can kind of come in handy for DIY builds. And then this is anything that's round, because shapes. So, and the simple answer to this is if it doesn't fit in these crates, then I have enough of what's in those crates and I just need to scrap it. This is all like the medium and bigger chunks of steel. I don't have a great way to store them. Also, huge waste of space underneath here. So I'm not sure the best way to utilize this space. If you got some ideas, leave them in the comments. It's like 4 feet, nah, it's probably less than that, like 3 feet deep. But looking for some ways to make this space more efficient because the pile technique is the current. There's 3 little things, yes, 3 things that I'd like to do to finish this out. And I think we're gonna use some scrap tubing to do it, actually. This piece right here, it's perfect. I think the pressure's supposed to be on these tires, 110, 115, or something like that. 50. It's always amazing how much air in a tire makes a difference for the ability to roll, you know? We got like a PPE drawer. Some tools. Need some tape measures and more pins, marking devices for sure. I got some wire. Cut off wheels and the such. My rods. All my grinders down below. Some anti-splatter pro spray that somebody sent. Wow. And I just put a hole on this side so we can just run a lag right through there, and then there's a hole here for a socket. I think it's obvious, but in case it's not, it's a home for all my screwdrivers because they don't currently have a home, and now they will. Also, for my pry bars, like that. And I still have some more space, and I might make some bigger ones for some of my bigger pry bars to go here. But that's pretty sweet. And then when we're done, look, this stuff has a house now. This has never had a home. Now it does. There is still so much that can be done in here. I mean, a fella could spend every day in here for a couple weeks and get it absolutely perfect and spend thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. But this is what I do every year. I buy more and more tools, and I have to continually find a new home for them. The smart thing would be find a home when I buy it, and then we don't end up in the situation that we ended up in. Or when I'm done with the tool that doesn't get stored in here, take it back to where it's supposed to go. But inevitably, with my personality, I am who I am. You can lie to the world, but you can't lie to yourself. This is how it ends up. So, pretty big progress. I'm pretty happy with all the improvements that we have. Even little things like a place to store a charger or let a charger run that's convenient and easy to get to. Storage for screwdrivers or pry bars. Storage for air compressor. Just rearranging a space so it flows and works better. And complicated things like building a welding cart that now I can just drag out and use anytime and will save me a whole bunch of time. Not only finding stuff, but just anytime I need to weld. Inexpensive solutions like milk crates to keep my bits and bobs all organized, and it also forces me to limit the amount that I store, because if it doesn't fit in the crate, then we get rid of it. And we don't end up in the same situation we were, or the expensive things like the Bluetti Apex 300 that allow us to do things we've never been able to do and just add a whole new level of convenience to this little shop.